WOLFPACK, what is going on? It's your boy, the Wolf of RotoStreet, rotostreetjournal.com, where we breed and feed fantasy wolves here with your Week 13. Yes, Week 13 rankings rundown. That means 1 week now stands between you and your fantasy playoffs. For many of you, this is a win and in playoff style game anyways. So the playoffs essentially have already started. Maybe you got to get that bye week, that ever valuable bye week. Whatever your case may be, a win is never more crucial than right now in Week 13. So let's get it on done. Let's get your thoughts on all my rankings. Get your early sit starts answered on Facebook. And if you're listening to the podcast, Fantasy Fullback Dive, where we pave your path to 2019 titles, you're always invited to join us on the live broadcast right around 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. A little late today. Nice little haircut. But here we go. Let's get dived in right now. Denny Jennings, great to see you. Thanks for tuning into the show. Get your questions in. We're going to kick off, as we always do, with our quarterbacks. Might seem unthinkable. Could anybody actually ever be ranked ahead of Lamar Jackson? Well, he does get Baltimore, whereas Pat Mahomes gets Oakland. And to me, as almost near elite options, near perfect for either guy. I got to side with the matchup there. I got to agree with the ECR. Let's pull up the matchup calendar, though, real quick. Dylan Adams, great to see you. Let's just show you what the matchups are looking like for your top quarterbacks this week. San Fran, 31st, only New England giving up fewer points. You got Oakland, the 5th most points to Mahomes. That's why he's going to be ranked ahead, despite Lamar Jackson. 5 touchdowns, 35 points. The guy's a monster. Ruined my fantasy dreams last night. I had 25-point lead with Cooper Kupp and still couldn't pull it off. Thanks, Lamar. Ruining my week. Minnesota for Russ could be a shootout style game, so I'm going to like that one quite a bit. Do not like Watson going into New England. We've seen how boom bust he's kind of like a Deshaun Jackson of quarterbacks. That to me seems like a bust style game. Now Rodgers sucks these last few weeks, but the Giants is a great get right spot. Kyler Murray facing the Rams, 18th. Not a bad spot. Could be a shootout style game. We just saw Jackson shred them. I like Matt Ryan. New Orleans 12th on Thanksgiving there. Lattimore status will obviously waiver a lot of that ranking. Not a great spot for Prescott. We just saw him get demolished in a tough matchup. Thanksgiving Day against Buffalo, home in the Dome. Should be a little bit different. Do gotta love Drew Brees against Atlanta. We just saw them get just ramsacked by Jameis fucking Winston. So a lot of your big name quarterbacks have some great matchups here. We finally see the green light for some other guys that you may not have been seeing, just to make sure all of these are covered for you. And down in terms of the sleeper range, you got, Miami for Carson Wentz, great bounce back spot if his hand is right. Brady against Houston should have to do his damage through the air, so I like him to get back on track. You got Sam Darnold over 22 points in 3 straight, has another amazing spot. Goff has been a complete bag of shit, but Arizona, the most points to quarterbacks, could be a get right spot. And Nick Foles against Tampa Bay, 2nd most points to QB. So a lot of lower end options with great matchups. Let's get to your rankings here live with those all in mind. Great to see some questions coming in already. I will be right there. Sal, Giuseppe, my guys here as always. Love to see it. I will be with your questions in a second. Let me run through these quarterbacks. So I got to agree with Breeze also at 3. Atlanta on the road. Shootout style game brewing for Thanksgiving night. I love that one. I do like Russell Wilson just a little bit more, just because, again, when Minnesota, awful secondary, awful corners, and when they're in competitive games, the Seahawks, Russell just tends to ball out. So I think he gets it done. I think he gets it done pretty emphatically. So those two kind of make that second tier. Obviously, again, Lamar and Mahomes, complete head and shoulders above everybody. Then these two just similar to challenge those ceilings, and Russell Wilson and Drew Brees. Other than that, I do love Matty Ice a little bit more than the ECR. I know he's coming off a dud when you thought he was going to light it up the most. I think he bounces back in a big way against New Orleans. I like Aaron Rodgers despite being 160 average over the last 3 games, only 1 touchdown in those last 2 games too. Been absolutely abysmal. Under 10 fantasy points in 3 straight weeks. Pathetic. The Giants are the definition of a get-right spot. You can tell Bully Rodgers will get it going, the fucking loser. But man, can that guy get it it done in the right matchups. I'm going to bump Sam Darnold all the way up to 7. Call me insane, but Cincinnati, third most points to signal callers as we saw earlier, and fresh off 20-plus points in 3 straight. Hope you listen to that advice to buy low on the Jets after that New England fiasco. We said Darnold and all those receiving weapons. Big fan of him this week. A big fan of him over some guys I'm seeing like Sal question Josh Allen at Dallas. I don't love it. I'd rather have a guy like Darnold in there. Do I even dare say I'd rather have Nick Foles against Tampa Bay than Dak Prescott? I mean, I have that. I can make that decision this week. I don't know if I could ever actually stomach that and pull the trigger. Winston against Jacksonville, middle of the pack matchup there. I'm trying to see here. I kind of like bumping Carson Wentz up. I know he hasn't been getting it done. I know his weapons are banged up. But Miami, I mean, what else is there to say other than Miami? They fucking are one of the worst teams I've ever seen. So I like Carson Wentz to get back on track. I'm going to cut this tier off at Prescott. We saw him prone, but was it weather-related? Was it matchup-related? Probably that perfect storm of both. I still think Dak can get it done. Buffalo, just a little more ground to be found there against Dallas. I don't like Watson at all. This would be a week I'd have him on my bench if possible at all. I do like Kyler Murray, however. Again, we just saw the Rams get picked apart by Carson Wentz, fresh off a bye. Hopefully his weapons coming in healthy. Give me a lot of Kyler Murray this week. I'll have him even above Winston. But yeah, there you go. That's like my last of the locked-in QB1s. I do like Brady. I think he's going to have a big bounce-back week. Houston giving up the 9th most points. 2 signal callers and much more susceptible in the air than the ground. Sunday Night Football. Get right spot for Tommy. Big fan of him. Ryan Tannehill, I mean, what's there to be said? Ever since he took over as the starter, this stat is insane. Only one QB has more points per game, and that's Lamar Jackson, who we all know is on a historic pace. So Tannehill has to be at least potentially in your streaming plans, your streaming radar. Big fan of Ryan Tannehill. Shocked that he's in the bottom 18 according to the ECR, given how juicy these matchups are. I'm bumping Goff off with that Arizona first points to signal callers. I think this is a good bounce back spot for Goff, for the Rams. It was such an embarrassing effort. I think they could definitely get it back on track this week there. Does Derek Carr keep pace with Patrick Mahomes? I don't think so. I'm not really sure there. Just seeing all the questions, guys. Keep them coming in. I'll be right to those. Just wrapping up the bottom of this QB tier. I'm going to bump Cousins up. Again, I think that's going to be more of a shootout than it's getting credit for. I'd rather have Goff, but still, I like this. It's kind of the last of my QBs. I do not love Garoppolo. I do like Brissett a bit more than we're seeing here. I'm going to have him above Watson. Tennessee secondary is just awful. I get Foles didn't do much against him, but definitely a fan of Brissett, that no corners exist on that team. And then down here, when you get to this shitty range, I mean, you got to chase some upside like Danny Jones, Bakes against Pittsburgh, one of the better defenses, but fresh off 2 20-point days now in a row. I don't hate the Bakes. What else do we got? Andy Dalton makes his return against the Jets. I mean, that's very streamable. How could you ever actually stream him? I do like Kyle Allen a little more than these guys. Anybody else standing out in this slate? I mean, Trubisky always has theoretical upside after being a draft millionaire maker winner like 3 separate times last year, but not a fan of that. I mean, even though Detroit's given up a ton of touchdowns. No one down here really screaming my name. Maybe Devlin Hodges. He likes to uncork the deep ball. All right, let's get to some of the questions, folks. We got 14 to hit right now. Keep them coming in, Sal. Great to see you. How do I feel about Josh Allen versus Dallas? Clearly not great. Are you down in my QB 14-15 range? Definitely some streamers available like, again, Sam Darnold, my QB 7, Carson Wentz. Giuseppe, to answer that question, I like Carson Wentz a little bit more. You get that Miami matchup. Big fan of anybody facing Miami. So pathetic. Drop Cohen for Penny, not a Carson owner, half PPR. Yeah, I think you can. I mean, Cohen's bringing no theoretical upside to the table. We know what that offense is. If you needed to use Cohen, it's a different scenario. But there's a lot more upside to having Penny on your bench than there is Cohen right now, in my opinion. Winston or Kyler? You saw that one, Giuseppe. That was tough. 6-7. I lean Kyler. I think, coming off the bye, getting healthy, getting the backfield all set. That offense should move the ball pretty well against a crumbling Rams defense right now. Ingram or Waller, half PPR. Well, we got to know if Ingram's actually playing. But if so, Green Bay, watched George Kittle run wide open on Sunday night. Definitely a spot that you could use Kittle. Ingram, in my opinion. Especially with Waller, no tight end finishes above the top 13 over his last 4 weeks. I think he gets right, but once I get to tight ends, I'll let you know, Giuseppe. But the gut says Ingram if he is active. I have Matt Ryan and Josh Allen. Should I stand pat with them or try for Darnold or Tannehill? If so, which guy do I drop? I think you're okay, Robert. I would lean going Matt Ryan today if you're starting this week against that bad, horrendous New Orleans defense. Josh Allen, definitely, let's pull up the matchup calendar and look at this playoff schedule because that's kind of what you're wondering when you get to that point. So let me scroll up here. So you're looking at Ryan. He's got Carolina, San Fran, Jacksonville, so nothing too sexy about any of those, but he's still a good bet for 20-plus weekly. Josh Allen, the schedule really stiffens up here. Dallas this week, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, New England, so I would say you can cut Allen at this point if you needed to drop a QB. I don't see myself comfortably using him in any of those 3 matchups. You mentioned Sammy Darnold. Let's scroll down here. Gets Cincy, then Miami, then it gets ugly for him. So if you wanted that streamer this coming week, you could have Darnold in there, and then it gets ugly again. Then Tannehill, it's shocking. But look at that schedule. Holy hell. Indy this week, but then Oakland and Houston, New Orleans, 3 bottom 12 defenses. I think Tannehill might be the pickup there. Again, nobody with more fantasy points per game other than Lamar Jackson right now at the QB position since he took over as a starter. Just sheer insanity, folks. So hopefully that helps you out, Robert, that look at the strength of schedule. I hope that was useful for you. Mateo, what's up, Wolf? Would you bench Amari this week? OBJ, DJ Moore, John Brown, Parker, McLaurin. You got a stacked fucking crew there, Mateo. I love it. Against Buffalo, I can see the bench. You saw him look dinged up against New England. It was a cold day, but Tre'Davious White is tough. Let me get to my wide receivers and see all those other matchups. I don't know if I'd bench him for, definitely OBJ, definitely DJ Moore. I like them. And then probably Parker against Philly would be my top 3 options there. But let's get to the wide receivers in a little bit, and I'll let you know for sure. Drop either Kyler or Winston for Foles, Tannehill. Nah, I'd stick with those guys. Both Kyler and Winston have decent schedules, especially Winston really juicy down the stretch. And as we just saw there, maybe for Tannehill, but could he keep this fairy tale going? We'll see. Still start Lamar after what happened to Rodgers last week. I know they are different, but still, yeah, you got to keep Lamar in there. There's just no benching this guy. Worst case, you're getting 25 because he's going to run for 100 on the ground there. Robert, Kirk Cousins also on the wire, worth grabbing him. You had good options, man. I don't see the value in stashing Cousins. In my opinion. Stafford playing doesn't look likely, at least this week. He does have Tampa Bay coming up in week 15, so if you're playoff minded, if you got that bye week and you need a QB streamer, he's out there in 70% of leagues at this point. I would check for Stafford, and that Tampa Bay matchup alone would make him worth the pickup if you're QB needy at all. Pick a running back and flex from Drake, Carson, OBJ, Parker, Mixon, Geis, or Penny. To me, I think I'm still ripping Carson. I get the fumbling woes. Giuseppe, I get how concerning that is. And I get Penny seems to be closing that gap, but just as soon as he gains ground, it seems like they go right back to their horse. And I think they do that this week too. Minnesota is tough run D, but compared to those other options, that's got to be my guy. And then your flex, I got to probably go Devontae Parker. I mean, that guy has been a beast. Yeah, the half PPR. Big fan of that. Denny answered yours. I'm going to answer this one for you, Giuseppe. And then Mateo, Denny, Derek, I'll get to all your questions after I hit my running backs, folks. Starting receivers are DJ Moore, DJ Chark, DJ Moore, and Godwin. I like that squad a lot there, Giuseppe. You got yourself a beast. Let's get to the running backs and see where Carson does ultimately land this week in a tough matchup against Minnesota with those concerns about the committee. All right, Christian McCaffrey against Washington. I mean, what else needs to be said? Let's just put him in the tier alone. You're getting your 30 points, no doubt about that. But let me pull up the matchup calendar for you guys. I'll get to running backs now on the matchup calendar and just kind of preview this week 13 of matchups and let that inform the rankings a bit. So Washington, 9 points on the ground. are one of the juiciest matchups McCaffrey's going to face this year. Holy hell, that's going to be a bloodbath. Cook, doesn't matter. 21st, he's still going to get it done. Buffalo, Zeke's going to be the engine there. That's how you beat this team that's great against the pass, not so great against the run. Kamara in another good spot against Atlanta. He had 10 catches against them just 2 weeks ago. Fournette, game flow proof, loved the 33 touches this last week, but Tampa Bay has been very stifling, even limiting monsters like Christian McCaffrey. Aaron Jones, so boom or bust, but man, the Giants definitely represent a team that they're going to be in the red zone often, build a lead against. It seems like an Aaron Jones game for him to really rebound. Pittsburgh, Chubb, tough matchup, but he should still get it towards the end zone. He's got a monopoly on those touches and the early down looks. Indy's surprisingly very stout. Darius Leonard, ever since he came back, they've been great against the run. And Henry, though, such a monster down the stretch run. Always in December, he averages like 5.7 or 8 yards per carry in this month. He just loves to wear down defenses. You really got to have Saquon high this week, though. Green Bay, they're awful against running backs, as you can see here, 4th most points. Jacobs against Kansas City seems like a smash spot as well. So lots of good matchups for your top 10. Ingram in a tough, difficult matchup. That offense is so good, though. Carson, as we mentioned, that tough Minnesota with the committee concerns, but you got Bell and Lindsey in some juicy spots here. Joe Mixon, the Jets, mediocre. Montgomery floundered last time, was the DFS darling against Detroit, 2nd most points to running backs, and did nothing, but could definitely rebound here on Thanksgiving Day for you. And I like Ronald Jones's matchup. That Jacksonville funnel defense has been so generous to running backs. And then what's going to happen with Kansas City? Is Damian going to play? Is it McCoy? I've seen McCoy out there in some waivers. Decent guy to check on. Tennessee, 15th. Marlon Mack won't be playing. Jonathan Williams, though, in a good spot. And then it gets really ugly till Carolina, which is where you imagine maybe Marlon Mack returns. Not a good spot for Hyde. Least amount of points. Not a great spot for Hunt, but maybe more of a pass-catching day. And your Eagles backs against Miami have some upside. Let's get digging. Darius Geist, too, got to shout out the fact that he gets Carolina's worst against the DVOA. Let's dig on in, folks. Let's rank these running backs and get you set up well for your week 13 matchup. Real quick, just want to plug, too, if you're enjoying the content, you're willing to share this out to your audience, it would be greatly appreciated, or even better if you have a fantasy football group you're a part of and you're willing to drop this in so that we can get found, help more people out. It is a great help. At minimum, give us that like, guys. I see there's more of you that are watching this than have liked it. We greatly appreciate those little things. I know I sound like a whore selling my little slutty self for the likes, but come on now. Give us some good run here. But let's get into the running back rankings. That's what you really care about here, folks. McCaffrey, like we mentioned, 9th most points. It's going to be a bloodbath there. I do like, Kamara. We had 10 receptions against these guys. You can't really argue with Zeke against Buffalo, getting bled on the ground. And I'm going to put Jacobs in there. They've been so... I get he has had a down week. I get owners might be a little nauseous from that. But the most points to running backs, Kansas City is just so bad against the position. It blows my mind. A little bit lower on Derrick Henry this week. That tougher matchup against Indy. If it's a matchup-based thing, I'd rather have a guy like Chubb. I am going to be higher. I know how shitty Barkley's been. But come on now. This is Saquon, fresh off a bye, getting rested, getting himself healthy with the best matchup he's seen to date. I hope his DraftKings price, I haven't looked yet, I hope that price reflects how low he's ranked in this ECR. Good God, he could blow up. As I mentioned, I really like Jones to rebound. You got to enjoy Bell against Cincy, who just gets hemorrhaged on the ground. We mentioned Fournette has a tougher matchup this week, but all RB1s in our eyes, no doubt about it. And then you're getting into 12, 13 territory. I like Lindsey actually sneakily more than Ingram, even more than Gordon. The 8th most points to Chargers on the ground. They have been getting hit hard by running backs, whereas the Denver run D's really started to stifle up. Give me Gurley, despite the tough game this last week. I think he has a good shot at the end zone here. I'm going to have Carson. I mean, I get the tough matchups. I'm going to have Carson at least above Mixon. And this is going to wrap up my high-end RB2s. Mixon, I guess 3 straight 16-point weeks and then a little dud, but gets Andy Dalton back. I know he's a little bit better with Finley under center because they were just force feeding him the rock. But I like Mixon to keep that rolling. I got to put him, though, with this other crap tier. Devin Singletary in a decent spot. They've been, if there's ever spot Dallas is weak, it's the running backs and tight ends. So I like that. Do I dare do it? Do I fucking do it? Oh, God, David Montgomery getting moved up to RB19. I can't resist that matchup. I'm such a whore to somebody, a running back facing Detroit, even if he's as garbage disposal disgusting as David Montgomery's been this entire fucking year. I do like me a Ronald Jones, though. We're going to bump him up. I'm getting a little glimmer of who I might be going after on DraftKings this week. Got to get my guy Jimbo Slice on that little spreadsheet this week to who I'm higher on, who I'm lower on. To find the differential. I also love Jonathan Williams. I'm going to have him above Montgomery here, even Devin Singletary, even Joe Mixon. I mean, he should be in your top 20 running backs locked in, no doubt. 29 touches. What else is to say? Jordan Wilkins played all of one snap and didn't log a single touch. This is not a committee, folks. Nyheim Hines, he'll get some pass-catching work. This is the Jonathan Williams show until Marlon Mack is back. So until I hear otherwise, I'm putting Jonathan Williams in my top 20 running backs nearly every week and gets a good matchup against Tennessee, who just, you saw what Leonard Fournette did to them, didn't you? Oh, God, hide your children, folks. Not that Jonathan Williams can do Leonard Fournette shit, but still, come on. Sony, looked like he had a little juice. I get the Miami matchup for Sanders, but that fucking backfield's a nightmare. Coleman's a nightmare, and now in an awful matchup against Baltimore. I can't disrespect Eckler, though. I do got to get Eckler. Just such a nose for the end zone into this top 22 or so. And I'll cut this tier off right here. I'm going to bump up Kenyon Drake. And again, 22 touches in that backfield last time out. I got to have him a bit higher. I get Chase Edmonds is returning. I get maybe DJ gets a bigger role. But to me, it really looks like they want to see what they have in pending free agent Kenyon Drake. They have no reason not to ride the wheels off with him. So big fan. Definitely higher than the ECR on him this week. And actually, a definite potential starter in lineups, Benny Snell. Not Jalen Samuels. Benny Snell takes over that backfield, gets a whopping 23 touches, clears 100 total yards. It doesn't find the end zone, but still, Cleveland giving up the fifth most points to running backs. I liked what I saw out of Snell. I would probably play him over Sony, over Ronald Jones in a good matchup here. Give me some Benny Snell action. Definitely higher on him than your usual expert ranking this week. And give me some Darius Geis. I know he's inconsistent, especially if Carolina gets up early, but this is one way you could beat this team is establishing that run, the Bill Callahan system, the third lowest most points to running backs and the worst DVOA in the league to running backs. So give me that action. I'm going to bump up Shady McCoy. Oakland, 14th most points to backs, and Damian Williams a very big question mark for this week. So I think McCoy would be a almost shoo-in for a touchdown, the way this offense should move the rock. Scarborough is so matchup dependent, and Chicago's been bleeding some decent points to backs, but more so pass-catching backs. So not a huge fan of the one-dimensional Scarborough, as much as I like the beastly talent, the 18 carries. I love all that, but not a die-hard fan this week. And then anybody else standing out down here, let me kind of cut this tier off. This is like the last truly usable guys, in my opinion. I can put Kareem Hunt. I can put James White in there. Damian Williams is going to X out. I'm just assuming he's not playing with the rib injury. If I hear otherwise, of course, Shady's going to get a nice bump down here. But I would play Shady over Sanders, Geis, all these guys, again, assuming that Damian Williams is out. He'd be a quality flex, in my opinion. Probably belongs actually more so. Where does this tier kind of get cut off? Williams. I think this is more appropriate right here. Yeah, there we go. Alrighty. There's your tiering system, folks, of the running backs. Down here, I'll bump up Darrell Williams. Just, again, assuming Damian Williams is out. He had top 15 days in both weeks Damian Williams missed in 3 and 4. 165 total yards, a TD, and 8 receptions across those games. So I liked what he did last time out without Williams. I could see a decent day, especially if they're trying to preserve Shady as they talked about for the playoffs. Duke Johnson, I do like Jamal Williams actually more than any of these guys though. Just so consistent every single week. It seems the more consistent fantasy option than Aaron Jones at least. Which isn't saying fucking much with the way that guy booms and busts. Holy fucking shit. Alrighty. What else do we have here? Any other usable parties in this territory? Guys, I got bumped down just a little bit. Just because that committee's been so hideous. Sorry for the lag here. This fucking computer sucks. I got a new one today. Looking forward to hooking it up finally. Any other names to toss out there for you at the running back position, folks? David Johnson. I mean, if I'm going to go to AP, why don't I just toss out Johnson and hope he does something? Like, if I'm that desperate, maybe he's healthy, maybe he's back. I don't like being higher on him, but I'm just going to go by what I would actually do. Down here, similar to that, Chase Edmonds, maybe he's involved early. I don't see much else other than Ty Montgomery as a Hail Mary facing Cincinnati. I could see him finding the end zone. Let's bump up Hines a bit because the volume is going to be more consistent than a lot of these guys out there. I do like Tariq Cohen's matchup a lot. So I'm going to bump down David Johnson, actually. Speaking of that devil. It's Devonta Freeman. Freeman practiced 2 days in a row, so let me show you where he should slide in the rankings, in my opinion. Freeman. I'm surprised he's not even in the ECR right now. Sorry, folks, for the delay there. Here comes Devonta. Not a great matchup because New Orleans has given up the second fewest to running backs, but we're talking about every down volume in one of the better league's offenses. So he would slide in, right around here, if and when he's active this week, right around RB29. Alrighty, I'll shake through these backs later. To me, nobody else is really, maybe a touchdown bet for Peyton Barber. I fucking hate Kalen Ballage, won't touch him. One of the most disgusting talents in the fucking league. Yeah, there's nobody else really. Edwards, end zone bet. When you get to that point, you're just hoping that, Allison steal some goal line thunder, and that's about it. All right, back to your questions, folks. Looks like we got quite a few waiting for me. I'll get 7, 8 of these, then we'll get to the wide receivers for you guys. We got Mateo, Rodgers versus New York Giants, Cousins at Seattle, or add Darnold or Tannehill. See, I personally prefer Rodgers. I know it's disgusting. You could go Darnold if you wanted at Cincy and then Miami next week. A nice 1-2 spot for him. But part of me just thinks Rodgers turns it on this week. The awful Giants defense. I think he just bombs them and has that coming out style party. Still confident in Lamar after what happened to Rodgers? Yeah, I think I answered that, Derek. But yes, definitely still confident in Lamar. It doesn't matter who he's facing. He's so matchup proof. Can you tell me what Brissett's playoff schedule looks like? Sure can, my good friend. Let me pull up the matchup calendar. Let me pull up my matchup calendar. Go to quarterbacks. And if you want to ever look at this stuff yourselves, just go to fantasypros.com's matchup calendar. It's a great tool for analyzing playoff schedules, all that stuff. So Brissett has Tampa Bay, New Orleans, Carolina. So definitely at least that Tampa Bay matchup, very juicy. New Orleans is so dependent on Lattimore. I can see them kind of sneakily shutting down that Colts offense, especially with it coming at the Dome. And then Carolina, meh. So really you're looking at that Week 14 matchup there against Tampa Bay is the time you'd want to use those guys. So that's your playoff schedule. Any other questions about playoff schedules, please let me know, Derek. Happy to, or Denny, any other guys. First time viewer Wolf, need flex help in a half PPR. Happy to have you, Derek Hale. Thanks for tuning in, my friend. Half carry and reception league. Are you with Stephen Filipiak? I've only heard a couple people do that type of league. We got Lindsey, Singletary, or DJ Moore in a cake matchup. You need flex help. I got to go DJ Moore there. The guy's been balling out. He's off a 30-point day. He's had, 103 straight over double-digit targets in all those games across the span. I'm a huge fan. So, yeah, I'm looking at DJ Moore there. What I'm looking for at QB playoff schedule. Glad I helped you out there, Robert. Hopefully you figured out your answers there. Giuseppe Russo, my guy. You think Hollister plays this week? I didn't see why not. What's the latest on him, though? To be honest, you know some news that I don't at this point. A big busy day at school, getting ready for Thanksgiving break, winding down, folks. But Giuseppe, let me know what the news is on Hollister. I haven't heard any reason why he wouldn't, but I might not be as up to date as you are on the injury front there. Diego, my good friend. Got to play 2 out of Mixon, Williams, Lindsey. Also, Ajayi. Shut the fuck up about Ajayi. Come on. I guess you got the revenge game there, Diego, but seriously, dude. Come on. Not Ajayi. Ugh. Recomposing myself here. Between those 3, I mean, as you saw in my rankings, Lindsey was definitely the highest. I like the matchup against the Chargers. I like that he's becoming kind of more of an every down guy. So I do like Lindsey a lot. In terms of Mixon versus Williams, that gets tricky. Part of me likes Williams. I'm more sure in that offensive line, that offense to get him scoring chances. I'd have a hard time benching him after a 20-point fantasy day, and Mixon just so up and down and had some of his worst games with Dalton under center. I like the matchup, but I don't love it against the Jets for the running game. So give me Williams, give me Lindsey there, Diego. Cousins is the number 6 overall QB. He faces Detroit week 14. Don't know how he's not a must-stash, in my opinion. Definitely worth owning because of that Detroit matchup. I'm not saying that, Mateo. Just this week against the Seahawks, it's not a bad matchup, but not a great matchup. He could totally get it done. I think he's in my top 15 for the week. But again, I don't own too many QBs going into the playoffs. Just not really my style. Second running back, Singletary or Eckler. This week, I do lean Singletary. Dallas does give up some decent running back receptions. I think Singletary could get it done on Thursday night or Thursday Thanksgiving afternoon. You're sitting there, hungover or drunk, hopefully high from your Thanksgiving dinner, whatever the hell you are. You just get to sit and watch Singletary rip it up. I'm kind of a fan of that. And I'm going to take Leo and Giuseppe's. I'm going to cut it off and hit receivers and then get to the rest of the questions after that. Drake, Montgomery, Latavius, Breida, thanks in advance. I don't know how many you need, but I would put them in order of Montgomery, then Drake, then Latavius, and then maybe Breida plays, but it's against Baltimore, so I wouldn't really count it. So Montgomery, Drake, Latavius, then Breida, in my opinion. Leo, Giuseppe, Carson versus Min over K. Drake versus Rams. I do go Carson, but I sense the risk, and I totally get why you'd be nervous. If you really wanted to go Drake, I wouldn't force you against it. But, you got David Johnson coming back, Chase Edmonds coming back. I would like to wait and see on that backfield if I can. And Carson's been such a horse for you, Giuseppe. I think you got to keep riding that out. Alrighty, let's get to wide receivers. I'm going to put Mike Thomas in that tier alone where he belongs. And then we're going to pull up the matchup calendar for wide receivers. So that's quarterbacks because of our question on Brissett. Let me scroll up to wide receivers and run you through the matchups, the gamuts for 13. If you got any playoff-minded questions too, feel free to ask. Atlanta, 4th most points. Mike Thomas, by far the most receiving points in the league. That's just a recipe for another smash spot. Oakland for Tyreek Hill, another juice bomb. And they were optimistic about his status earlier in the week. You can't love Hopkins against New England. They've been just shutting down number ones. We saw Cooper go catch us. That won't happen with Hopkins, especially when they got Fuller drawing some attention too. I still don't love the guy this week. Julio Jones at 9 facing New Orleans. If Lattimore doesn't play, smash all day. If he does, to me, that's more of a Ridley spot with him drawing the secondary coverage. You got Jacksonville. Mike Evans, a solid spot. They're better against the pass and the run, but still nothing to shy away too much from for your top Tampa Bay guys. Cooper, this could be a week to bench him after you should have benched him against New England. Maybe you do the same against Buffalo. Adams, a absolute blow-up spot against the Giants. A lot of good matchups for a lot of your big guns. Minnesota for Lockett, also a solid spot. Xavier Rhodes been getting dusted by number ones. Should happen yet again. Not your best spot for Keenan Allen, who's been definitely prone to tough matchups. You got Houston for Edelman, should eat against that terrible secondary. Washington for DJ Moore, another smack spot for him. Definitely going to be in my DFS lineups. Arizona for Kupp, the last really matchup. I'm going to trust this motherfucker. In the slot, should avoid Peterson. And then any other smacking spots, DJ Chark against Tampa Bay, the most points to wide receivers. Not much to argue there. I know he's been boom or bust, but talk about a boom spot. And then ugly matchups for your Galladays. And he's obviously with Driscoll already a low ceiling. John Brown in a tough spot. Despite getting it done every week, could be a bench candidate. Same with Sutton. Chargers have been very, very stifling against wide receivers. So tough week for some guys here. Let's get to these rankings. Parker, 5th most points to wide receivers. Guys, shout that out. And Tyler Boyd in an interesting spot. I can't believe how low Parker is in these rankings. Just insulting to what the guy's been doing. I don't think he's had under double-digit fantasy points. He's got as long as a streak on 50 yards other than Mike Thomas since John Brown's got broke this last week. Alrighty, folks, let's get back to these rankings for you. Hopefully, again, the calendar was helpful, and then we'll get back to your questions. To me, you got to have Tyreek Hill number 2 as long as he's playing. We saw some more blow-up style matchups. I'm going to put Adams right behind Tyreek Hill. And then your Jaguars guys, your Bucks guys against the Jaguars, definitely in decent spots too. To me, though, those 2 other top guys are just a little bit spicier. Down here, I'm going to put Lockett just above Chark, despite that great matchup against Tampa Bay. Kupp, I just love Lockett, and he gets Xavier Rhodes has been getting dusted. I guess the health concerns are real. DJ Moore definitely belongs in this tier, though. He's really kind of separated and joined there. Definitely a great spot for Calvin Ridley, especially if Lattimore. Especially if Lattimore doesn't play. The secondary is just that much worse. But even if he does, you're drawing PJ Williams or someone else out of the slot. He's been a beast since Hooper went down. Big fan. Tannehill does look like he has a juicier schedule. Yeah, it does. Diggs, Seattle. Meh. Give me Odell. Now we're getting to some ugly range here. How can Odell continue to just be ranked that much clearly ahead of Landry? He's got a touchdown in 4 straight, fresh off a monstrous revenge game against his old Miami team. Thielen is coming back, so Diggs not as appealing, but there's not all that many guys either around here that I would have above him. You got to get Hopkins back in this conversation. I think, do I dare rank Devontae Parker above Keenan Allen? I think so. Holy hell. Call me insane, but this guy is a beast. You're like a slut, but you're like... Oh. Yes, Tues. A huge slut. Allen Robinson. Fresh off a big day, but he's going to draw Slay. I might go eat some hay in the bay. Losing my mind here, folks. And no, I didn't take edibles, so shocking. I'm going to bump Adam Thielen up. Should be fully healthy, should be ready to go. You got to have Crowder. I get the down week, but until then, he was the number 1 wide receiver over a 3-week span. So big fan of that. I just don't love this matchup for Keenan Allen. It did nothing against Detroit earlier. He looked great against the Chiefs his last time out, though. So I'll keep him in that tier. Definitely lower on Brown, Cooper, Sutton, all in bad matchups. I like DK to blow up it instead of those guys. Trey Waynes is going to try to cover that monster. Are you shitting me? Won't be able to come even close to his jockstrap. Tyrell Williams getting disrespected. This is where you're getting into ugly talent or ugly matchups. I like Dede against Tampa Bay, a 6-catch day. Eat the hay again. Deebo Samuel, though, what a monster he's been. I'd have to have him above Dede. I can't have Galladay against a good secondary. Fuller, I mean, if there's going to be one thing that gives the Patriots fits, could be him. I'm going to bump Kirk up. I think that team's going to move the ball with ease on the Ravens. Keep your questions and comments coming in, guys. I will be right there, I promise. I appreciate your patience, but I want to get through these wide receiver rankings. Just trying to see if anything seems out of place. Like, let's cut this tier off. Debo's really become that kind of like every week one. I would never play. I think Fuller belongs in here too. I am nervous about Sutton against that Chargers D, but man, he's been mossing people all year. He could definitely find the end zone. I think this is a decent spot for Cooper. I'll probably have him above John Brown. Banged up though against Tre'Davious White. Not the easiest of Thanksgiving Day tasks at all. Oh, give me Robert Woods a nice little bump up, 90 yards, more involved. I think he belongs in this tier. Yeah, Marvin Jones, Galladay, Driscoll on Thanksgiving Day. No, thank you. I do see Peterson maybe running with Cooks. He's just the most inconsistent of that bunch. I love the Tyler Boyd. You get Andy Dalton back. You get a great matchup against the Jets. He's going to be a guy I'm definitely higher on. Definitely intrigued to see what his DraftKings price is. I was going to hit a show tomorrow for you guys because you got that Thanksgiving Day slate coming up. I mean, Marquise Brown almost had 3 touchdowns just in terms of the sheer upside that they just bombed the 49ers. What a good defense. I totally understand, but it's certainly within the realm of possibilities. Golden Tate and concussion protocol. So let's X out of him and pretend it's only Shepard, which means Shepard definitely deserves a hefty raise up these rankings if he's the sole guy against a mediocre at best secondary. I love me some A.J. Brown. Career high 135, just a monster after the catch. Those monstrous shoulders. Holy hell. Doc, I see you joined. I hope you're commenting, answering people's questions here. Getting the thread count up. Other than these guys, alrighty, who's standing out down here? I mean, Gage getting the third coverage, an interesting streamer. Oh, man. Now we're just looking at names. I like Harry, though. Touchdown, showed some chemistry. Is Julio not expected to play? I get the injury. Left it with a shoulder, but, man, alrighty, I'm X out of him. If he's not playing, Calvin Ridley, even bigger blow-up spot. Russell Gage, if I'm ranking him how it's going to be without him, yeah. If you need like a fill-in for Sanders, Galladay, Jones, if you don't trust Driscoll, then yeah. I do like Sammy Watkins a bit more than this low ranking here. Oakland is just so susceptible to wide receivers. I'm going to keep bumping up Harry just as like my Hail Mary of the week. That secondary is just abysmal. Conley, you get Tampa Bay, so he's always got a shot there. But that is pretty gross. We're getting into ugly territory, and I can tell the viewers are like, move the fuck on to tight ends. So that I shall do. Robbie deserves to be in this tier. These are like, if you don't find anything that's top 45, include like Russell Gage. Come on, folks. You got to find something, especially if Julio sets. Gage would be an interesting play. I do want to move up Alshon because he's practicing. I think this is the week he comes back. So where would he rank? I'd put him right here, 33, just to give you a little taste of where Alshon would land. Is there anybody else in this area? Harmon looking decent, actually. But that's an awful quarterback. I don't want any piece of that offense. So, yeah, that's about it, folks, for this wide receivers. I'll sift through this bottom tier in a little bit. Let's hit the rest of your questions before tight ends. My wide receivers are – I don't want to miss Derek Hale, sorry. Pretty set with Thomas, Adams, and DJ Moore. Damn, my man. Jones, Henry, Lindsey, Singletary, Monty. Solid squad, my friend. Drop rest of the bench and get handcuffs like Pollard or Madison, or hang on to John Brown and James White's. I think you hang on just because it's great to hang on to these upside lottery tickets, but if one of your starters goes down, those handcuffs mean nothing. You need some depth like John Brown, like James White. If something happens to a starter, I do like stashing a Madison in particular because their playoff schedule, the Vikes, is crazy, but I wouldn't cut John Brown or James White for him. So it depends on who else you have for trash to maybe trim up Derek. But I like stashing Madison. It's so many owners get crazy. I don't need depth anymore. It's the playoffs. They suffer an injury in week 1. They move on to week 15, and suddenly they got nobody. Who can I start at running back and flex Miles Sanders, Cohen, Geis, Waller if Ingram plays, or Hyde? Half PPR. So Waller gets Kansas City. Not a bad matchup for the kid against tight ends. We'll pull up that matchup calendar just to see how juicy. It's not going to be Hyde. It's not going to be Cohen. So between those other guys, I like Sanders against Miami. That's especially true if Jordan Howard sits. I'd probably flex Waller. I'd probably go Sanders, Waller, to be honest with these options. Giuseppe. My wide receivers are Adams and Moore. Need a third for flex out of Crowder, Golden Tate, and DK. Ooh, good questions. I'm going to go good Crowder. I know the down week is scary, but Cincy, horrendous. Give me that. You're stacked. Handcuffs your clear priority. Again, Mateo, a little bit disagree. I love the commentary going back and forth between each others. In redraft leagues, John Brown is droppable. His schedule is putrid. I get the tough matchups, but man, he's been matchup proof. Yes, you want handcuffs. You want to protect your own guys too. But still, if you get caught without any type of depth and your guys get hurt, it's concerning for sure. But Wolfpack, I love the interaction. Keep it coming between each other. It's so helpful to have that. Drop McCoy for Cohen, half PPR. Nah, I'd keep McCoy just to see what is this rib injury with Damian, because if he's out, McCoy scored a touchdown every time Williams is sat, and I think he'd be a great bet to do it again against Oakland. I'm a Connor and Samuels owner. Get rid of Samuels for Snell. Yes, I didn't even have to see your question, Moreno. I would get rid of Samuels. I'd keep Latavius, even if you don't own Kamara. I don't think what makes you think Samuel's going to be the guy all of a sudden. They clearly went away from him. They never really trusted him as a runner, and he hasn't been great as a runner. You see why. He's not a great running back. He's a solid pass catcher, but at best he's your third down back in a Duck Hodgins offense. You don't want that. You want the feature guy they're going to ride, and to me that's Benny Snell, Robert. So yeah, I'd drop Samuels. He's useless to me rest of season. If I can't get a hold of him, should I pick up Darrell Williams? Yeah, if you can't have McCoy. I don't know who you're referring to here, Giuseppe. Sorry. Derek is my league. See, told you I didn't want to share with my league. I love it, my dude. I've never heard of the half rush, half PPR settings. Is Mateo in that league too? You guys all getting after it. I fucking love it. Actually, number one spot, Steven versus Derek. Good luck. I got to go with my long-term Wolf guy, Steven. Good to see you, Derek. I appreciate the new fandom, but Steven's my guy. Long-term Wolfpack, baby. Take him out, Steve. Represent the pack this week. Let me know how I can help you out. Giuseppe, he's questionable tag. His foot got rolled up on against Philly. Oh, this is Hollister, yeah. And foot's never good. I imagine he toughs it out, though, and plays. Feelings on Matt Ryan or Tannehill rest of the way. You got to trust the talent there with Matt Ryan. That being said, I'd like stashing Tannehill, as we covered with Moreno earlier. Tannehill has that juice bomb schedule, Tunenberg, for your playoffs. Blazo, let me hit yours real quick, and then we're going to sift through our tight ends. Great to see you, Corey Wilkes. I appreciate your kind words every single fucking week, man. I really, truly do. The reason I can keep doing a job like this, I'm a teacher, not my real job. The reason I keep doing this after work is because of you guys coming every single week. I know that sounds fucking corny and cheesy as shit, but I love you guys. It's awesome interacting every week like this. Alrighty, back to the scheduled program. Blazo wants none of that mush gush. Play 2, half PPR. Brian Hill. Shut the fuck up, Brian Hill. Are you kidding me, Blazo? I'm not even going to answer your question. You're asking me about Brian fucking Hill. Ugh, disgusting. But you're going to play Ingram and Gurley. I get the Bo, 18 touches, but tough matchup. Not the right game flow, in my opinion, for Bo. Brutal matchup for Ingram against that awful, really tough San Fran D. But you just got to hope he gets a touchdown. Gurley, not a bad spot against Arizona. I go with both those guys there. Jeff, we're going to lead off with your question once we get through. Oh, is it only... No, we got a few more comments. So I'm going to cover these and then get to the rest of your questions after tight ends. Keep them coming in, folks. Let's break 50, 60 questions on the night tonight. Our record, I think, on a Tuesday broadcast is 100. We're not even close. Let's go, folks. Share it out. Get some more in here. Let's have a little Tuesday night party for Taco Tuesday, folks. Travis Kelce's got to be by himself. But Ertz, though, I mean, the target share has been massive since Alshon's been out. Had another monster day. I still think against Oakland, Kelce. Let me pull up the matchup calendar. I believe they're giving up the third most points to tight ends. And so let's just look at that. Let's preview your matchups here, folks, for the tight end position. So yeah, Kelce, fourth most points. George Kittle, 28th against Baltimore. A tough spot for him. Henry, middle of the pack. Ertz, Miami, surprisingly middle of the pack against the position. Andrews in a brutal spot. So two of your locked in top 5 guys in bottom 4 matchups. Waller in a get right spot. No doubt about it. Right there. Can you guys see the calendar? Is that working? Yeah, good. Where else was I? Atlanta for Cook, not bad. Like I mentioned, I love Evan Ingram if he's back this week. Third most points to the position. Green Bay. Everett's been what a godforsaken, awful, humongous cockhead. But Everett is in that juice matchup against Arizona, the blueprint. Almost 2 touchdowns a week to tight ends. They are abysmal. Olsen in a good smash spot against Washington, the 8th most points. Chicago, the 6th, but you can't trust Hawkinson right now. Doyle is the every down, locked-in guy with Ebron now hurt. Looking a lot better and a good matchup against Tennessee than Tampa Bay right after. So he's a nice priority add. You got a good schedule, a good slate here for Everett coming up as well. A great slate for Olsen. So that's kind of preview. Any of you guys down here, Vance in a good spot, but fuck Vance. He doesn't do shit. Rudolph against Seattle might be a viable stream if you're desperate for a touchdown. Thielen coming back, though. I imagine that work takes a hit. So that's your matchup calendar for the tight end position. Let's cover the rankings now, folks. So yeah, as we mentioned, Andrews and Kittle in tough spots. I'm going to keep Kittle in my top just because I think he's more matchup proof. Andrews has been prone to tough games. So I'm going to bump him down a bit. I'm going to move Griffin up against Cincy. Top 10 matchup for sure. Right there. I have Cook above him. Olsen right there as well. Give me, I hate to do it, but give me Everett right behind these guys with that juice spot. I'm going to have Olsen above him. I would also, though, rather have, I'd play Andrews if I had Andrews versus Everett or Olsen. So I got to just be a real human being there. But I do love Jackie Doyle in that Tennessee matchup as the every down guy. I think he's a great bet to find the end zone. Now you're getting into the dredges a bit. If Hollister plays, though, I know he's off a dud, but this guy has been a beast. Rudolph, Seattle, as we mentioned, a good matchup for them. Fant had a nice catch and run against those guys earlier, but not a great spot at all. Now you're getting into some ugly territory. Is there anyone that stands out down here? Houston good against tight ends, but I'd rather play Watson. I mean, would I really rather? Let's bump him up. And then I'll put in Ingram in case he does play. Because he was optimistic he could get in back last week. And let's show you where he would slide in. I think he'd slide in right at 4 or 5 here. Load. All right, here we go. Evan Ingram, right up. Yeah, I'd put him right under Darren Waller just in case he got re-injured. But third most points to tight ends, that would be a great spot for him. Level it, says Jeff Marcus. Glad you're enjoying the show, my friend. Curtis Samuels, I don't know what your question is, but I think he is a bag of shit, Jeff. What an absolute loser he is. All he does is clear off the top of the defense so that Moore and McCaffrey can just feast underneath him. Great at clearing out the top of the defense, such good speed. But yeah, brutal in terms of his own usability. Sutton, Hollywood Brown, or Brandon Cooks. Saw Sutton pop up as questionable in addition to the tough matchup. I gotta still go Sutton though. Maybe Hollywood Brown if you're trying to bench anyone, but you can't trust Cooks. He's done nothing all year, Robert. So give me Sutton there for the most part. Just been a beast. Denny Jennings, tight end rest of the season. Everett, Hollister, Rudolph, Graham, Delaney, Howard, Doyle. I would go with Hollister personally. I would go Hollister then Doyle as my next option there. The other names are all kind of shit. So yeah, give me Hollister, give me Doyle, then Everett, I guess, because a couple good matchups. Play Ridley or Lindsey in the flex if Julio Jones is out. I think I play Ridley, honestly, either way, even though I am higher on Lindsey this week. I like Ridley a bit. I got to get my plugged in. One sec, folks. Sorry. Had to. Alrighty. Whoop. Hopefully you're not all leaving. I am still here, I promise. Just plugging in the laptop so I can get to all your questions. Tunenberg, Cobb, Jamal Williams, Hines in the flex. Pick 2 full PPR. Ah, God, that's hideous. I'm going to go Williams and I'm going to go Hines. And I'm going to throw up Tunes. But Williams is probably the far and away top option, in my opinion, there. Thoughts on Baltimore D rest of the season? Worried about them this week, thinking on grabbing Carolina. I like Carolina this week, Derek. But I would much rather have Baltimore rest of the season. They've really seemed to turn it down. We can look at the matchup calendar. We're going to defenses anyway, so why don't we get over there? There's no other tight ends really worth covering. But let's get to, where is it? The matchup calendar. And we'll look at rest of season defenses for you guys. Safari, defense. Alrighty. So in terms of week 13, yeah, tough matchup, but then, oh, come on, look at this, Derek. How could you drop them? Buffalo, Jets, Cleveland for the fantasy playoffs, my friend, and you're battling for the 1 spot, so you might not even have to deal with that Buffalo matchup. So whether, pick up Carolina, that's fine for this week. I'd rather have Carolina than the San Fran matchup. But, man, could you really give up this Jets and Cleveland juice bombs for weeks 15 and 16 for a defense that's starting to surge? I don't think I could, my friend. I don't think I could. Like that quite a bit. All right, so in terms of Week 13, Steelers in a great spot. You got Miami on the docket for the Eagles. And look at that, Giants and Washington. Philly could be a season winner these next 3 weeks. 3 straight top 5 matchups. Doesn't really get much better than that. You got to like New Orleans, even though they're on the road. Atlanta's been okay. Better at protecting the ball these last couple weeks since coming out of the bye. I mean, Jaguars should definitely get at least 1 turnover. Does it go for a touchdown is the question. Solid spot for the Packers against this awful Giants offense. But again, if that becomes a shootout, we've seen the Giants put up their points. You got to enjoy the Jets this week facing Cincinnati, even though Dalton's coming back. Love the Panthers. The rest of the season for the Panthers actually looking pretty decent despite them getting smothered last week. So interesting matchups across the board. In terms of those, I hope that helped answer your question, though, Derek, that you got to keep the Baltimore Ravens for sure with that playoff schedule. Let's rank through these defenses, and then it's on to your questions. Alrighty, Panthers number 1. I don't know that I necessarily agree with that. I like Steelers a little bit more. I like the Eagles a little bit more, but yeah, that's kind of your top 4. Strange week for defenses, huh? Sucks. San Fran's so good normally. Just on sheer talent alone, I'm going to bump them up. I'm not going to play the Rams over them, but man, it's going to be a tough week to use them. Oh, Bears at Detroit. Driscoll, come on. That's nothing special. Then we got What else? Ravens at San Fran. I'd rather have the Pats. I'd rather have Packers, Saints. I'd even rather have the Jags this 1 week facing Tampa Bay, the most turnover-prone team in the league. What else do we got? Cut this tier off. Feel like Chargers below, but they're facing Brandon Allen. I'd rather have the Browns though. Getting Duck, Duck could just be sitting and roasting on an open fire. Here. Oh, we only got 4 questions. Let me answer those for you guys before I finish up my D rankings. Drop Samuels for James White, Jamal Williams, or Penny. I am a Carson owner. How many fucking leagues do you do, Giuseppe? I feel like you asked me I'm not a Carson owner. I am a Carson owner. I would definitely drop him. I would most likely pick up James White. But if you don't need to use him, if it's just sheerly for a bench spot, then Penny brings more value to your team considering you're a Carson owner. If Ingram hurt, I would have to start Waller. Who would I flex out of Hyde, Geis, Cohen, or Conley? Out of those guys, I feel like I'm leaning Geis personally. Brissett or Josh Allen this week, asks Denny. I'm going to go... That's tough. I'm going to go Brissett personally. Driscoll is out? Oh, I didn't know that. Who's the fucking next guy up? Holy shit, maybe the Bears have to be number 1 if there's no Stafford and no Driscoll. Jeez. 3rd string quarterback? Only have to use those guys in the flex if Julio's out. Julio's in. Do I go Jamal Williams? Yeah, I would go Jamal Williams. Those other 3 shitheads you listed on there. Rest of the defenses here. I don't like Buffalo against Dallas on the road. Detroit at home, not horrible. But I'd rather have San Fran. I'd rather play San Fran than most of these teams, to be honest. Any other usable streamers down low here? Let me check. Chiefs at Oakland at home. I mean, they could get some turnovers there. They just got shut down by fucking the Jets. Oakland, ugly week for those guys. But, I mean, in all likelihood, you got guys up there that you can use. Nobody's standing out. Tennessee. Nah, none of those matchups really ring home for me. So let's cut this off with the Seahawks. It's just a decent unit there. Alrighty, folks. Thoughts on cranberry sauce? I personally think it sucks. Denny Jennings, great question. Maybe the best of the night. Cranberry sauce blows. I'm fully with you, my dude. It's all about turkey, gravy, mashed potatoes. Let me drink the gravy out of a fucking, ladle. Just dump it all over me. Let me rub it all over myself. Fucking love gravy. Love stuffing. Bury my face in a pile of stuffing that's scalding hot if I got to, just to get it in there. But yeah, cranberry sauce is the last thing I go to. Even the green bean casserole, those little crispy onions on it, all about that. But cranberry sauce doesn't touch my plate. Denny Jennings. Fully with you there. Alrighty, folks. That is it. I got to get running because I'm actually jumping on a guest podcast, the JDF Sports broadcast. If you don't follow JDF Sports, go check them out. I'm going to be on there at 7:30 live tonight, so 30 minutes to get ready for that. So I'll be back on that show talking about matchups for the playoffs as we've been kind of doing all night tonight, looking at that matchup calendar. So if you want to check that out, follow JDF Sports on Facebook. I'll be live for their Fantasy Egos show. Would love to have you join. And if not, best Thanksgiving to you all. We'll do a Thursday morning show to get you ready, me and CJ, Thursday a.m., right around 10 or so, to get you ready for the lineups, the Thanksgiving day. Enjoy the time with the family, the food, all the great stuff that makes it the best holiday in the world. Thanks so much for your support. As always, WOLFPACK, love having you each and every week. You guys are the best. Have a great